Well, it is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Israel has said that they have no choice but to launch a ground offensive to remove Hamas from Gaza. And that is going to come with a particular set of challenges because they are aware of the fact that Hamas has put miles and miles of tunnels underneath Gaza.
Tunnels that are incredibly sophisticated. They go down as much as 100 feet. They are fortified, and it's a very dangerous mission.
It is essentially a form of urban warfare. And there's a retired U.S. officer who's written and taught at West Point all about urban warfare and what they're going to be up against going through these tunnels. Major John Spencer is the U.S. Army's expert in this field, and he is joining us right now. Major Spencer, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thanks for having me.
So, look, there are upwards of 200 hostages right now. The number keeps going up. I think it's now at 220. And presumably, some of them may be in that tunnel if Hamas is holding them as human shields. So, how does this work? I mean,
how in the world
you know,
begin
Hamas knows, they had to know when they attacked Israel on October 7th that Israel was going to respond this way. How does Israel extricate the hostages and kill Hamas?
Very carefully. I mean, I think it was Brad Pitt that said, fighting in a basement presents many challenges. Number one, you're fighting in a basement. Going into a tunnel, militaries have fought in tunnels since ancient warfare. It actually predates ancient warfare. It's where you go when you don't want to be seen on the surface, and today is where you go if you don't want to be attacked on the surface. But the militaries like us in Vietnam, who faced massive networks of tunnels, have options of what they can do in a tunnel. But the presence of those hostages, like you mentioned, really changes that calculation, as in you have to go down a lot slower. And I don't think people understand tunnels. What Hamas has built is more analogous to the New York metro system. They actually call it the metro than just a tunnel as that we might have in our mind. There are layers and layers of tunnels, like a city under a city down there. And there's no other place, just thinking logically, where Hamas will put the hostages that they want to keep, but underground in those tunnels. So when you enter them, you can't do things like flood them with water, flood them with cement, flood them with smoke, things that militaries have done in the past, if you believe your hostages are down there.
So it sounds like they've really forced the hand of Israel and whoever else is standing alongside Israel, that when they go into these tunnels, this has to be hand to hand or very close to hand, right? This isn't, you can't lob grenades in there and then hope for the best because you have no idea who's in there, and especially if you're trying to get these hostages out.
I mean, yes, and Israel has known about Hamas tunnels, and I've traveled to Israel, and I've went into Hamas replica networks in southern Israel. They know of the challenges. They have developed. There are robots, remote control vehicles, lots of things they can put in front of the soldiers, so it's not hand to hand. That's the worst case scenario, right? Is to be like a tunnel rat, and which is what we did in Vietnam as well. Is send a guy with a handgun and a flashlight, and enter that hell. I mean, it's hard. No normal military equipment works underground, but Israel has some of the most advanced technologies, from dogs to drones to robots, you name it, that you can send down there before you. But that's the issue with the scale of this problem, right? 200 plus hostages in hundreds of miles of tunnels. If anything, it's going to take a lot of time.
Well, it may take time, but at a point when they do kind of figure out what's what down there, I've been thinking about it all weekend, that Hamas knew, and I keep going back to this, that when Hamas engaged in that kind of vicious terrorism on October 7th, they knew Israel would respond this way. They knew there would be a ground incursion. They knew it. They had to.
And so, to your point, I think it was so vicious, the things that they did that because they wanted to draw Israel.
And so they knew it was going to happen. And so what I've been wondering is Hamas thinking they may kill us, the terrorists, who did what we did. But at the same time, if they kill the hostages in the process, the world will turn on Israel, and in a weird way, they kind of win that public debate, because you see what's going on now, that people have forgotten, a lot of people have forgotten about October 7th and are just looking at the consequence. So could this be Hamas's MO from the get-go?
I mean, that is Hamas's MO from the get-go. Not necessarily the use of hostages as shields, but humans as shields. They want thousands of the Palestinian people of Gaza to die in pursuit of their objective, which is the destruction of all of Israel and all Jewish people, in the pursuit of having the Arab world rise up because they're the perception of the operation. I 100% agree. That's Hamas's old strategy, right? Strike, expect a retaliation, want the world to respond, want all Arabs to respond, all Muslims to rise up. But the problem here is that even from a logical military perspective, is Israel has no choice but to do something they've never done before, right? This isn't new, but because of the severity of this attack and their shown military capabilities, 4,000 rockets in a single day launched at Israel, the IDF and Israel are going to move into Gaza and destroy all of their capability, not some of it.
Well, the good news I heard you saying there, Major, is that Israel has some of these tunnels replicated so they could train at least before going in. But obviously, training is one thing, and when you're down there against the enemy, it's another.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really do
knowledge.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, it's such a desperate situation.